It is not uncommon for writers and authors to struggle with that feeling that their first draft needs to be perfect and hence struggling to even get to the end of a first draft. I've struggled with this, a lot of my friends have struggled with this, most writers you know have struggled with this. And I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you probably struggle with this too. Today, I want to help you fix that. And we're going to do so by splitting the process into 3 distinct steps to help us get to the end of that first draft. Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Sarah. I publish under the pen name Catherine Gray. I have a couple of books out in the world. What are my credentials for this video? I guess those 2 books are proof that I have most definitely gotten to the end of a first draft at least once. Aside from those, I think I have 3 other books that I haven't published that I've finished to either first draft or further. And most of all, I have most definitely been there in the trenches where I can't get to the end of a first draft or I'm really, really struggling with it. So I think it's safe to say I know what I'm talking about, at least to an extent. But let's get right back into what you came here for. So here are our 3 steps. Here's how this video is going to go. Number 1, identifying the problem. Number 2, fixing the problem. And number 3, sustaining the routine. Number 1, identifying the problem. Now, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to name this video, but I think I might want to name it something along the lines of how to ditch perfectionism to write a first draft, sorry. So when we're thinking about identifying what the issue is, I think probably one of the biggest things for writers is that whole idea of perfectionism. And I was thinking about, are there any other things that could be contributing to this? And although that is the main one, for me, I realized there's another one, which is that kind of feeling that the better it is on the first draft, the less work I'll have to put in the later editing revision stages. Also, another one I think might be quite common is the whole comparison thing. When you're writing a first draft, it's very easy to compare it to, a famous published book, which has gone through many rounds of revisions, lots of editing, and obviously is not a first draft. But for some reason, you can't help your brain trying to make a connection where there isn't one, comparing it to that, thinking, oh my gosh, this is nowhere near as good as that, and it needs to be. Now, these are just a few, and obviously I can't name every single one for every writer ever. So basically my advice for this stage is to just have a little bit of a think. It can just be literally 5 minutes, just to sit quietly and think about what on earth is it that is stopping you from getting to the end of your first draft. It's the same as getting over any problem ever, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's kind of like, why could I not run a marathon tomorrow? And the answer is because I don't have the strength or the fitness. And that's a really obvious one because it's a very physical thing where you kind of map the journey of not doing one to being able to do one. But I think with writing, because you can write and you know that you can, it is definitely worth taking that time to think, what is mentally stopping me from getting to the end? Because if you don't know that, it's going to be very difficult to kind of fix what the problem is. Which leads me on to step number 2, which is, of course, fixing the problem. Now, obviously, I can't give a solution for every single issue that there is to start with because I don't know all of the problems. I don't know exactly why you as a writer can't get to the end of your first draft. But thinking more broadly about that kind of idea of perfectionism, because I think that does cover 90% of the problem. I'm basically going to give you guys a list of reminders right now, some little mantras, if you will, to try and explain why you need to stop letting perfectionism get in the way. First of all, you can't edit a blank manuscript. Here's the thing, inevitably, you will have to edit this book. It doesn't matter how good your first draft is, nobody's first draft is going to be perfect. Even if it's really close, even if it needs most minimal editing ever, it still needs editing. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good at writing you are. Your first draft is not a publishable, finished book. It's going to need editing either way. So either you can hurry up and get to the end so that you can go back and edit it, or you can take forever. And you can write and delete, and you can write and delete, and you can stare at that blank page. But unless you write and unless you finish that manuscript and you finish that first draft, you cannot edit it because there is no tangible book to edit. Number 2, a little bit is better than nothing. Perhaps you're feeling like you need to write big, chunks of writing, or you need to get to the end of the chapter, or you have to write, again, something perfect. You have to write something with incredible prose and it's all completely perfect first time. This is a lie. I don't know who told you this. I don't know who's selling you this dream, but absolutely not. Just a little bit is far better than nothing. Number 3, the idea of this book that you have in your head, yeah, nobody else can write that, okay? You're the only one who can write it. And again, unless you write that first draft, this book is never going to exist. Unless you sit there and write it, it doesn't exist. Number 4, and actually there might be some exceptions to this, because let's say you write on Wattpad and release chapters every week or something, this does not apply to you. But for the majority of writers, nobody is reading it right now. Nobody can see that work. It does not matter how it reads. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter how physically messy it is. I don't know about you guys, but when I write first drafts, if let's say I make up a character who, only appears once, don't need to reuse their name, I just put like name X in big capital letters, put a little suggestion in my Google Doc saying, come back to this, and then I carry on. Because if I sit there and debate over that name, that's like another 20 minutes that I could have spent just writing. Because I know, because it's me, and I will spend 20 minutes debating over that name. Just little things like that. Nobody is going to see that. In my final drafts of my books, no one's going to see name X in big capital letters. No, that person's going to have a name eventually. But right now, nobody needs to know that they're just called name X. Number 5, this writing stage is supposed to be fun. Especially if you're someone who struggles with editing or doesn't really enjoy editing, you've got to enjoy the process. Like, remember when writing was just a hobby to you and it was really fun? Yeah, that's what it's meant to be. Even if it's your job, it's still meant to be fun. You're not meant to be struggling through it and forcing yourself through it. You don't have to sit there and force yourself to be perfect. You just have to have fun. That's all you have to do. And finally, a bit of a maybe slightly toxic motivation one again. It can't be someone's favorite book if you never write it. Circling back to you can't edit a blank manuscript. No one can read this in the end, eventually, if you never write it. How is it supposed to be my new favorite book, huh? How am I supposed to read it if you don't sit down and write it? Please and thank you. Now that we've got those kind of reminders out of the way, I'm kind of hoping that one of those really sparked it for you guys and you go away now just thinking, right, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write my book. But in case that hasn't done it for you, I'm going to try and list out a few fixes which are more like physical. You can implement this to see if we can get you over this block that you're in. So, bearing all those reminders in mind, that we don't have to be perfect, we don't have to write loads, we just have to sit and write whenever we can and enjoy it. Here are some fixes. Number 1, try time blocking. This may or may not work depending on what sort of person you are in terms of how you plan your time. Personally, I love to plan my time. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love when I get a little reminder from Google to Calendar and it's like, yeah, you plan to write for an hour. Oh, absolute favorite. Time blocking is really, really helpful to me. And that is effectively what I just said. You put in a certain amount of time in your calendar saying, this is when I'm going to write. This is non-negotiable. I am writing. And again, you sit down and you don't stress about it, you just write. And you don't go back and edit. And you don't care if it's perfect, you just enjoy it. Number 2 is to build writing into your routine and make it a habit, whether that's 10 minutes in the morning after waking up, whether it's in your lunch break, whether it's in the evenings, whether it's, I don't know, on your commute to work or commute to school. If you make that a daily thing or a weekly thing, then you're just going to kind of do it automatically, get however many words written, and slowly your word count will start adding up. So even if you feel like you're not spending that much time, you are eventually getting there and you're chipping away at this manuscript and not feeling like it gets abandoned just because you don't have a big chunk of time, and just still feeling like it's being worked on and that you will get there eventually. And it just kind of helps with that feeling of not feeling like it's going nowhere, like it is still going somewhere. Number 3 is changing up how you write. I think especially if you're struggling with perfectionism, let's say you usually write on your laptop, try writing with a pen and paper, or try writing, I don't know, on your phone in your notes app. Genuinely, this was a game changer for me when I realized I was just in a really big rut with, I think it was just like a specific scene that I knew needed to happen, but I just couldn't get it right. And that's what stop me from writing it in the initial draft, just grab a spare sheet of paper, grab that notebook that I know you have sitting in your drawer and you're not using, grab a pen and just write down your thoughts. It can be super messy. Obviously, if it's on pen and paper, you can't go back and edit it. Just let the words come out freely, let them flow. Don't overthink it, and it might be absolute rubbish, but that doesn't matter because you've written it and you can go back and edit it later. Number 4 is also try switching up the environment that you write in. I find just in general that I write way better when I'm at a coffee shop. Is it because I've got a little sweet treat to motivate me? Maybe, but that's not the point. I can't remember what the science is behind this, but there is 100% like a link between if you are comfortable in your space and your space feels like a space for writing, a space for working, studying, etc., then you are just far more likely to be productive and kind of associate that space with writing, working, studying, etc. So if you can find a space that you associate with writing, that is going to help a whole lot because your brain is just automatically going to think, I need to be writing now. If you guys have any more tips or even any more motivational mantras, feel free to drop them in the comments because, like I said at the start, we all struggle with this, and I would love to know what helps you guys get through this struggle. Now, the third step in the video, and I would argue probably the most important, is sustaining this, being able to repeat the process. There is no point in doing this one time round if it's completely not sustainable. I mean, not no point, but obviously you're going to give it way more credit if you have a process that you can do just to repeat this process of getting out of that headspace and being able to just power through to the end of the first draft. And obviously this step links very heavily to the first two. It's very dependent on them because basically all you need to do is take note of exactly what the problem was and what you did. If you tried some things and they didn't work, you know that they're most likely not gonna work if you tried them again. For example, if you tried going to the library to work and you just found that it was so quiet that it was off-putting to you, that is most likely just something that you're going to experience again. If you just feel like the library is an off-putting place, you're probably never ever really going to be productive writing there. And then on the other hand, if you had things that definitely did work, just take a note of them for future reference. Yes, not 100% of the time things are going to go the same way. Like, sure, things might work next time that didn't last time, or things might not work next time that did work this time. I'm not promising that you can repeat absolutely every single process. I'm not saying that we are robots who can wake up and write at the exact same time every day, and when they finish a first draft they can move straight on to the next one and repeat the process in the exact same way. Absolutely not. Writing is a very creative hobby. It's an art. It can't be forced. It can't be pushed into like one specific mold. But if there are a few specific things that work for you, it's definitely helpful to take a note of them. Just like as an example, for me, I know that going to a coffee shop to write, it just makes me 10 times more productive. And that's why I schedule it into my routine every single weekend, at least once. Perhaps you're thinking, isn't this obvious? Isn't this, a given? And sure, maybe to most people it is, but I just really want to highlight the importance of it. There is no point trying to force yourself to do something a certain way or write in a certain place if you know it's not going to work. I think it can be quite easy to fall victim to kind of the booktalkifying, is that the right word? The kind of social media way of doing things. Let me explain real quick. I think quite frequently it can be romanticized that, writers tend to write with a lot of caffeine in their system late into the night and stay up later than they should to write, and that's when they get their best ideas and finish their drafts. For me, that has never ever worked. I am much more of a wake up early in the morning to write sort of person, and that's fine because that's what works for me. I guess this is just my final little reminder at the end of this video that you really have to focus on yourself when you're writing. It is not what social media tells you should do. It is not what other people tell you should be in your routine. It's just whatever works for you to get through that draft and to enjoy the writing process. That is going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in my next one.